Here I am. What's up?
Jason, how are you?
Good. Doing great, Seabass. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Back in Seattle.
Back in Seattle. Yeah, I was deep into the NCAA basketball tournament, was embedded with Virginia Tech until your Wisconsin Badgers knocked us off, man.
Yeah. So it wasn't that deep. Actually, it was just second round.
Yeah, it was like the first day.
Didn't Wisconsin pull off another win last
Yeah,
night? Yeah.
they beat number
They
one, the
did,
reigning
yeah.
champion.
Yep, defending champion, number one team in the whole tournament, Villanova. They knocked them off,
Yeah.
and that's why they call it March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, the Badgers are good in March. Only white boys there, but
Hey, they're good in the clutch though. They're
Yeah.
good in the clutch, and the Badgers. I think when they played Virginia Tech, that one guy hit eight or nine 3-pointers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get hot on the right day, then you're unstoppable.
but this is the wrong sport now. So let's move on to the good stuff.
Let's move on to the real sport.
Yeah.
Football.
You've been at the combine too.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit why you were there and what you were doing there.
Yeah, so the NFL Combine is a crazy event. There's so many people, so many things going on. But it's also the weirdest event in the fact that it's all closed away. It's like this secret meeting inside of the stadium, and only NFL Network is allowed in there. And so these players are running the most important 40-yard dash of their life in front of 20 people. So it's like no energy there. But I've been working on a new project. Following Jabril Peppers from Michigan heading into the NFL draft. So Jabril Peppers and Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State. So it's a web series for a site called Uninterrupted, which is actually funded by LeBron James. So LeBron James is trying to create a new content site, no TV, just for the web, that's all about authentic stories from athletes. Like, let's cut out the extra layer and let's hear from the athletes themselves. So we were with Jabril Peppers, and he killed it, man. Ran defensive back drills, ran linebacker drills, ran a 4.46 40, and it was a great time out at the combine.
He's a freak.
I mean, he's one of those guys. He is a freak. I mean, you see him and you meet him, and he has this charisma. I was out in San Diego for 2 weeks before that. There's a facility there called Exos, which is where all the top guys train. I mean, you look there, and there's probably 30 top 2-round draft picks all training there, and it's always funny to see who kind of the alpha male becomes, and he definitely was the most charismatic and had that swag, as they like to say. And the only negative with Jabril is he's such a good athlete, but what position did he play? The negative teams are saying, well, he's not really a true safety, he's too small to play linebacker. But the way I look at it, he's such a good football player that if he just, if you'd look at a team like, I don't know, the Seahawks, hometown team, or, the Patriots, or, even some of these teams that play attacking style defenses, I mean, he could fit into a number of positions. I mean, he could play kind of like Polamalu did with the Steelers. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think he really helped his stock. I think he'll be top 15, top 20 pick.
Now let's talk about your expertise, quarterbacks. What do you think about this year's class? I mean, obviously, it's not the big hyped class as it was in past years. And you have like 4 guys that are people are talking about. Is Mitchell Trubisky is
yes,
he prefers now.
He prefers now.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Kaiser, and Patrick Mahomes. What are your thoughts about those 4 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them all in person here in the last couple months or so. It is a weird class. Like, there's not that one guy that jumps out at you and says, this guy is going to turn your franchise around. There's not a guy that I think is really ready to step in next year and be the guy. I think of that, probably my favorite out of all of them is Deshaun Watson, to be honest. I think Deshaun, you look at his skill set, you look at the games he's played in, his experience. Yeah. He's working with a good friend of mine, Jordan Palmer, out in California, getting ready for the draft. And so I think he's probably the most ready. You look at a guy like Deshaun Kaiser. I had a chance to work with him last spring break when he was still at Notre Dame. Really strong arm, really good person. You look at how Notre Dame did this year and you say, well, if if he's really this amazing top 5, top 10 pick, then why did they miss a bowl game, or why did they whatever? I mean, I don't even know if they made a bowl game. They might have, but
I think they won only 4 games, and he was benched in some games. Actually.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to Mitch, a North Carolina kid. Like, he, in my opinion, and again, I mean, look at him, amazing physical specimen, but he's a 1-year starter, and I just don't think he has the game reps to be ready, especially to be a top. I mean, I think 2nd, 3rd round pick, smart pick. He'll grow. But for me to spend a 1st round draft pick on a guy that's a project, I think it's a gamble. What was he, 3rd team all ACC this year?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even 1st team all league, and you're gonna elevate him and say that he's the next guy. Like, I don't know.
But then again, the other 2 guys that were ahead of him, they were pretty good too. Huh?
Yeah. I'm not saying they weren't. But I still think that I wouldn't draft him in the top 15 at all. I mean, you look at what Dak Prescott did last year. You know what I mean? And I know no one was talking about Dak Prescott a year ago.
Yep.
No one. And if they are, they're lying. No one was talking about Dak Prescott, right? Everyone was talking about Jared Goff, and I had the same feeling about Goff that I think I feel about Trubisky. Like, physical talent is there. Goff threw for crazy amounts of yards at Cal, but I didn't see that translating into the pro game year 1. I thought Goff would need 3 or 4 years before he's really ready, and that's why he didn't really play a lot last year. So, yeah, I don't know about this year's crop. I don't think they're that good.
What do you think about Patrick Mahomes? Because a lot of people have him rising up the boards lately.
I mean, I think he's a baller, man. I think Patrick Mahomes is pretty good. It was funny. When I was down in San Diego, I saw him about 2 weeks ago, and he was just kind of like jogging around the field, kind of a goofy guy. And I'm like, who's this guy over there he had a weird like mohawk haircut or something. And I'm like, who's this guy? But then when they said that was Mahomes, I was like, man, he was so good at Texas Tech. And I think he's probably the first guy from Texas Tech that has a chance to actually do something in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, he's got a really strong arm. He's got a confidence that not a lot of guys have. I think he's got a shot to be pretty good at the next level if he finds the right situation.
Okay. Now let's move on to the guys that actually made it to the league. We already talked about a couple of those guys. What do you think about Jay Cutler's future or Tony Romo's future? Do they actually have a future?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are 2 very different scenarios. I think Tony Romo, I love Tony Romo as a player. I think he's gotten hurt and he's had a couple unfortunate plays. But if you look at how he's actually played the last 5 or 6 years, I mean, there's only probably 4 or 5 guys that are better than him the last 4 or 5 years overall. And so I'd love to see Tony Romo go to a team that is on the cusp of winning a championship. So obviously I think that's Denver. Obviously I think that's Houston. I mean, those are probably the 2 landing spots I see for Romo. There's a lot of rumors that, he was going to do just like Peyton Manning did, end of his career, come into Denver. They have a great defense and play. I think Romo's going to play and play well when he gets one more shot. Cutler, I don't know. I just don't see it with Cutler. I mean, I don't. Do you?
He's been like the most talented guy for the last 10 years, right? And he never really got it rolling, never really was a team guy, never really, I don't know, it's a tough character. I don't know if you want him in your locker room.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a team that is desperate enough to get him.
It's weird, and we've talked about this before on this exact show. Like, there's not a more difficult position in sports than quarterback. And I mean, you look at Major League Baseball in America, and like every team has 4 pitchers. They all pitch, and when your 4th or 5th best pitcher is pitching, your team still has a pretty good chance to win. Like, not that much different than your first pitcher. But in the NFL, if you don't have one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, you have no chance. Like, you have no chance of winning the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say that, right? So I think with a guy like Cutler, he at least gives you a shot to be good. I mean, you look at it. what's the rumor that Glennon is going to sign with the Bears and all that? Like, that's a Band-Aid. Like, at least Cutler, if he's good, he gives you a shot and teams are willing to take a chance on him. But I think you really need that top guy. And that's why, like, you look at the Browns. The Browns, had they had a quarterback any of the last 10 years, they would have been good. But they were always a quarterback away from being respectable. And so I could see Cutler playing. I mean, Cutler's probably middle of the pack in the NFL. So, could he go to the Jets and play 3 years? Probably. Could he go to, one of these other teams that doesn't have a good quarterback? Probably. But I don't see Cutler jumping to the Broncos and winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, go back to the Broncos.
Yeah, I guess he came from there. I don't think he's welcome back.
All right, Jason, it was great having you on the show again.
Absolutely.
But before we let you go, you got an announcement to make, right? Which is pretty interesting. Speaking of quarterbacks and maybe guys trying to turn their career around, whatever.
Yeah.
You're coming to Germany, right?
I'm the same age as Tony Romo, actually. But I have an exciting announcement. I'm actually going to be coming back out of retirement myself. So, and headed of all places to Germany.
That is fun. That is fun. Where are you going? Which is the team that's going to have fun with you?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to – it's an interesting situation. And actually, so my cousin is a wide receiver. He just graduated college, a good player, kind of an outside receiver. And he signed with the Franken Knights in Rothenburg. I know I'm saying it wrong, but Rothenburg. And so he signed there to play, and there was an opportunity for me. They have a young quarterback that they want to train up in the future to be their guy long term. But there was a need right now, and I was talking to him a little bit, and I was looking at my schedule, and I said, hey, could it ever work for me to come over for a little bit? And it worked out. So I'm actually headed to Munich on Wednesday, and we'll be working out with the team this weekend coming up. And then, the season, I'll be over there for all of the month of May and maybe into June a little bit playing over there. So
we're definitely trying to catch up with you there with the Franken Knights.
Yeah, that's right. Sure. You guys gotta do a live podcast from a game or something.
Check out this old rusty guy. No, this is not slow motion. This is actually Jason in action.
Hey, take it easy now. I have one bad game. You guys are gonna be talking bad about me on the podcast.
It's kind of like the Romo situation, then, right? He's going there maybe 1 year, have a shot at the championship, and then go back home.
Right.
Huh?
Right, one and done. But no, my wife and I both love Germany, and her brother's actually living in Berlin right now. And so, it's just an opportunity for us to come over and play a little bit more football. And I mean, I've always been so involved in the international game. And, my brother played at Schwäbisch Hall, and, I played in Innsbruck with the Raiders. And so I've always loved football in Europe. And this was just a unique chance to play with my cousin. I have one of my receivers from Italy, one of my best friends, Claudio, is going to come up and play with us too. So we're going to have a whole international flavor.
It's a big reunion.
Yeah, we're going to follow that. That's for sure.
It's going to be a good story. So, yeah, keep in touch. There's going to be fireworks. Get ready.
Great. Jason, thanks again for having you on the show. And safe travels to Munich.